They were soldiers, captured and broken. From Java to Burma, from Singapore to Japan itself, Allied prisoners of war faced a nightmare in Japan's prison camps. For the men of the KNIL, the Royal Netherlands East Indies Army, captivity would mean years of hunger, forced labor, and brutality far from the freedom they once fought for. When Japan swept across Asia in 1941 and 1942, tens of thousands of Allied soldiers fell into their hands. Dutch, British, Australian, American, and especially KNIL soldiers from the East Indies. The Japanese military, shaped by a Bushido code that despised surrender, saw prisoners not as fellow soldiers, but as disgraced men, useful only as slave labor. British fell at Singapore, Americans in the Philippines were overrun, and Dutch and KNIL units on Java and Sumatra were forced to surrender. Across Asia, POW camps became prisons of suffering. Men were crammed into makeshift barracks, surviving on bowls of watery rice and a handful of vegetables. Disease spread unchecked: malaria, dysentery, beriberi. Beatings were routine. A missed bow to a guard, a stolen scrap of food, even exhaustion could mean punishment with fists, sticks, or rifle butts. For KNIL soldiers, capture was especially bitter. Many had defended Java or Sumatra until the last bullet, only to spend the rest of the war under the lash of their captors. Cut off from their families, they endured not only hunger and illness, but the fear of never seeing home again. Prisoners were forced into some of the harshest labor projects of the war. The most infamous was the Burma-Thailand Railway, the Death Railway. Running about 415 kilometers between Thailand and Burma, it claimed over 12,000 Allied POW lives, with tens of thousands of Asian forced laborers, the Ramusha, also dying. KNIL soldiers, alongside Australians and British, hacked through mountains and swamps with bare hands and primitive tools. Beyond Burma, other camps left scars just as deep. In Sumatra, prisoners were forced to build the 220-kilometer Muaro Pekanbaru Sumatra Death Railway. About 700 Allied POWs died there, alongside well over 100,000 Indonesian Romusha coerced into the work. In Formosa and Manchuria, captives toiled in mines. In Japan itself, men dug coal and labored in shipyards and factories under the constant shadow of Allied bombers. No matter the location, the pattern was the same: brutal hours, little food, no mercy. Japan held vast numbers of Allied prisoners. Across nationalities, almost a quarter of Allied POWs in Japanese hands died. Among Dutch and KNIL prisoners, the overall death rate was about 1 in 5, though on projects like the Burma and Sumatra railways, mortality could be far worse. Yet survival stories also emerged. Prisoners supported one another with small acts of kindness, sharing food, smuggling medicine, or secretly teaching lessons to younger men. Faith, camaraderie, and sheer willpower kept many alive against impossible odds. Why were conditions so brutal? Part of the answer lies in ideology. To many Japanese officers, surrender was the ultimate disgrace. A captured soldier had forfeited his honor, and thus his humanity. Combined with Japan's desperate need for manpower to fuel its empire, POWs became expendable tools. This mindset, enforced by guards and camp commanders, turned cruelty into daily reality. When Japan surrendered in August 1945, the survivors staggered out of the camps. Thin, scarred, and traumatized, they carried the weight of years of suffering. At the Tokyo trials, Japanese officers were convicted for war crimes, yet for many KNIL veterans, justice felt incomplete. In the Netherlands and Indonesia, memories of captivity lived on in silence, shame, and trauma passed down through families. The story of the POW camps is one of suffering, survival, and resilience. For the KNIL soldiers and their brothers in arms across Asia, captivity was a battle as fierce as any fought with weapons. If you want to uncover more forgotten stories of the Indies, Don't forget to subscribe to IndoInsight.